Today, we look at the topic, is college worth it? We'll discuss student debt, and we'll discuss the pros and cons of college. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast. Okay, when I was in elementary school, I saw my brother's class list. He was 3 years older than me, and he was entering high school, and I saw the curriculum, all the classes listed out, their suggested curriculum if you wanted to go to a four-year school, etc. And so I took that and I selected my courses from middle school and high school. And so by elementary school, I had everything planned out for 6 years. That's how planned out I was. And so they were all accurate except for, I ended up taking band classes. But my entire goal was to go to a four-year college, and then so fast forward to that, and I made it. I wanted to be an engineer, and that's what I majored in. And so everything was going fine and great. And then finally I hit a subject called physics, and everything changed. So I decided that, you know what, this isn't for me. I could plow through it, but I was doing horrible. And to be honest, I probably wasn't 100% interested in spending every single minute studying because I was also taking calculus, but I love math. So I went to physics. I went to business. And then business was just too boring. Like I took the classes and I was wondering, do I really like this? This isn't really going well, but I've always loved business. But being in school, taking business was not working. So I said, you know what, let me step back and let me say, what do I really want to do? What do I really like to do? I'll just major in that. Probably an epiphany I had way back then, but doing what I love, so be it. So I did math and it was legit. I really did well and I was passing classes and I was progressing forward. But I soon started making money and I was running out of time to really study and put time into it. So I went to work and stopped going to college. Then fast forward about a decade or so, and I started to go back. I went back, but I was a little smarter this time. I went to a 2-year community college because I remembered the 4-year university, spending the money to go there, even though back then it wasn't that expensive. But I remember just spending the money and saying, you know what, if I really don't like it, why would I spend all the money and go? Or if I just drop out, I don't want to have any wasted money. But when I went to 2-year community college, it finally worked out for me. And then I went to a 4-year school, found the major that I love, and then I went to graduate school. And so that's my story of college, but we're going to talk today about this whole idea of college. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast.
Hey, this is Chance. My IG tag is @Chance_AK_Phillips. I've overcome addiction and changed my life. However, 2 things I'll never change is my love for God and the Rodney O Podcast, where you can hear stories like mine and other relevant topics. Stay tuned. This is the Rodney O Podcast.
Today's podcast is titled, Is College Worth It? And I'm going to add this, especially for millennials or the generation after them, however they want to be defined. And just thinking about this topic, I recently talked with someone who was considering buying a house because, as most of you know, I'm in real estate, Trinity Real Estate, trinitycal.com, trinitycal.com. And so they were concerned a little bit about their student debt. And it wasn't huge, but it was enough to where they were wondering if they should pay that off first. And so it brought something to my attention about how college debt can stop people from even wanting to move on and have the quote unquote American dream, even though that's probably changed a little bit, but buying a house. And I know a lot of people that are in the same boat. They're in the same situation. They graduated from a good college, they have jobs, but they also have tons of debt. They look at how long it will take them to pay off this debt, and then they realize, wow, it may take me a while. And so the question becomes, would they be better off had they not gone to college? Would they make the same amount of money maybe without the degree? Or is it that they probably wouldn't, but they would have a higher income ceiling with or without a degree? Which one would pay more in the long run? I remember my dad, he used to tell me back in the day that going to college was the only way to go. and that his generation was the last one that would make a good living without college, that the rest of us needed it, but his generation could pull it off, but we better go. And my dad, he started working with a very, very modest salary. He was an electrician for the local utility company. And so by the time he ended his career, 35 years, he was making 6 figures easily. And so today, in this day and age, we have to ask ourselves, would college make a difference? Because I know many people who don't think so. Another major issue when we talk about this besides debt is that many high school graduates don't know what they want to do after high school. They have no clue. Now, if you want to go into a profession like a doctor, lawyer, or something with engineering and science, then you kind of know that you need college and the path is kind of set for you. You know what path you need to take. But if you don't know what you want to do, if you're not sure what you're really, really interested in, what do you do? And so I do think it's okay not to know, but make a plan. Take general ed courses, work for a while, do something, have a plan, but simply being lazy is not the way to go. That's not a plan. That's just doing nothing. Because you can always change your mind, which is why I recommend community college to start. Going to a 2-year school doesn't cost that much money. And going there, if you change your mind, you don't like it, you don't like general ed courses, you don't like anything about it, you can drop out and start working. You can go to a trade school. You can go for a specific program in a 2-year college. There are many different avenues that you can do when you choose a 2-year community college. And most importantly, why pay all the money for a 4-year school if you're not even sure you're doing what you want to do? Because for me, it was all about getting out of the house and going a certain distance away and having my own place. That's why I kind of went. And the prestige too, not prestige, but just kind of the way people look at you if you're a 4-year school rather than just a community college. Yeah, get over it, right? And like I mentioned before, there's other options. There's trade school. There's the military. What if you want to travel? You know what? I honestly say if you can afford it and you have a plan, then go for it. Because I'd probably be jealous because I didn't have a chance to do that until later in life. Just think about the time you have. When you graduate high school, the way people live today, you have about 70 years or more. You have time to dive into it and do what you want to do. But if you think about some other reasons why people say that college isn't worth it, I have to say that the cost is a big deal to many. I mentioned debt, but let's think about costs. Let's break down the cost and wonder why we're getting so much debt and why it costs so much. Looking back, when I was at my 4-year university, I saw it grow so much. Now, I was there twice. The first time was pretty modest. Everything was, not costing as much. But the second time when I decided to come back, I went to a 2-year school, but then I went back to that same 4-year university to finish out the degree. They were just going on a rampage with just new stuff. They built a new bookstore. There was new buildings all over the place, new science building and whatever, astronomy, whatever it may be. A new athletic facility, which was awesome. A new office for the president, which was interesting. I heard it was a couple million, if not more. And new parking garages all over the place. And I remember parking was a nightmare. You would drive in. You almost had to come 2 hours before campus in that first week when everybody's trying to get classes and trying to go to them and see if somebody dropped so they can add them and all of that stuff. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, you were rushed and stressed. There was a point where everything was full because they would build a new parking garage, which means they took parking space to do that. So you had to be shuttled in because you had to go certain distance away and wait for a shuttle, and the shuttle was full. It was a nightmare. And that's when I realized that it's a business. And to make any successful business work, what do you need? You need money. You need income to go up. I mentioned the university built more parking garages. Why? Because they wanted to increase the capacity of students who could come. And increasing the capacity of students means what? More revenue. And then to get them to stay and to graduate and to get the graduation rates up, so the school looks good, they had to compromise education, in my opinion. There was about a 12-year difference that I mentioned between when I first went to college and after high school and when I decided to go back a second time. And, there were some major differences. First of all, just a side note, cell phones and laptops were the biggest differences I noticed. That wasn't really prevalent the first time I went. I mean, they existed, but people just weren't carrying around cell phones and having laptops in classes in mass quantities. But when I came back, classes ended, everybody was on a cell phone. It was crazy. Everybody had a laptop. But the main thing I noticed was that the difficulty of classes drastically dropped. They were no longer as hard as I remember. And this could have been because I was more dialed in, I studied more, I was more into it. That may admit, I will admit that may have something to do with it, but I think it was to increase enrollment and to keep students. So if you look at the system is set up that you'll get money just for going to school. You go to school, you get a check, right? I mean, it's so easy. And I think it will probably break the government eventually. But most people, I think, are wising up to the fact that they don't want to graduate and have these loans they can't get rid of because it will hurt them in the long run. It's not the way to go. So they're opting out. Gary Vee, if you listen to me, I listen to him a lot. He makes a point about this. He makes his point clear about college and how he feels. He did terrible in school, but now he's a successful entrepreneur, author, speaker, whatever he does, media guy. And he knew deep down that he was this kind of entrepreneur guy, this kind of hustler. And he states that college teaches you how to get a job. And I know what he means. But my hope is that college teaches us how to learn. But I will say that, even though we are in a constant state of learning, I think that should be the focus for our entire lives. I think when schools test, they may prove Gary right. And, because we get into memorization and not application. So it's kind of a struggle if you are horrible at tests. I remember one professor one time, we were taking a test and he said, it's going to be all multiple choice. And subconsciously, I didn't realize that you studied differently for multiple choice than you were, let's say, an essay answer. Because multiple choice, you can kind of get the gist and you can kind of know the concept and be able to answer the question. Essay, you got to know it in and out. But when we got to the tests, guess what? There was essay. And I heard gasps all through the crowd, as they were sitting there listening, taking the test. And I said, yeah. So after the test, the next class session, we let the professor have it. And it's interesting because he agreed with us about, look, we understand you don't want us to simply memorize and study for a specific test a certain way. But then the school system is set up that when they test us a certain way, they teach us how to do that and memorize and have the study guide. And he agreed. And so I know the counter argument about testing. It shows the teachers and the professors that they're teaching well and that the students are learning, but there has to be a different way. With Google and artificial intelligence, with AI, do we need to memorize certain things now? I guess if you want to be a gatekeeper of the knowledge and program the AI, we have records we can keep, but do we really need to memorize certain things? Can we change up the way we learn? Can we change up and learn differently so that we become lifelong learners? Can we learn how to learn and how to apply that for our futures rather than going through a curriculum to learn because we need to have certain knowledge because somebody somewhere said so? So what is the truth about college? Well, here it is, in my opinion. College is a personal choice based on knowing yourself well. I'm not here to bash it. I got 2 degrees. I got a bachelor's and a master's degree. And I'm not here to say it's for everybody. But I'll go back to this. I say that it's necessary to have a plan. That's why you need to know yourself, because you need to know what you are all about and what your purpose is, and if college fits that. So here are some points to think about. First, like I said, find out what makes you tick. Discover who you are. And I have a podcast about discovering who you are. Discover who you are. What makes you tick? What makes you excited? What things do you like? Because that will tell you kind of the direction you want to go. And that's the point number 2. Decide the best route to get where you want to go. You can be an intern and learn that way. That's a Gary Vee suggestion. Just go work for free somewhere. Learn, like if you want to be in the media, find a media company, be an intern, learn from the ground up. That's really useful. That's really good advice. Is it a job? Do you need to work for a while? Stay busy. Do you go to a trade school? Do you learn a trade? Do you go to college or do you go to military? That's up to you to decide when you know yourself well. And then the third point, there's no wrong path unless you're lazy. I know sometimes there's a stigma of okay, this person didn't go to college, or your kid didn't go to college, or this and that. That's why I think parents push a lot, because there's a certain negative connotation still that, oh, where's your kid going? And if you're a parent of a college-age kid and you said, oh, they're just working, or they're not really doing much, or they're just traveling, then you have that, oh, okay, from others. So it's about not worrying about what other people would think. But if you're lazy, that's the wrong path. But I think you should be able to know yourself, decide the route you want to go, and then don't think of it as a right or wrong path as long as you're being productive. And then point number 4, go for it. You have a long time to go. Changing your mind is okay. You have 70 years. But I was to say go for it and dive in. So there you have it. Please feel free to dialogue with me. My YouTube channel, Rodney O, is up there for you guys. And on that channel, I have a weekly vlog called Rodney O Weekly. And that vlog shows that I am living what I speak. Please be sure to subscribe to that channel. The link is in the podcast description. Or you can simply go to YouTube and search Rodney O Weekly. Remember this. I want to inspire, encourage, and motivate all of you as we navigate this journey that we call life. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.